Okay, okay. What do we see here? What do we see? I have an excellent report back from YouTube. I see the timer running for Twitch. Chat windows have loaded, as far as I can tell. So we will say, hello, chat in here. And hello, chat in here. Not because I think anybody's there, but because that way I establish that the chats are working. Okay, so let's grab this and we will post. I'm doing it live. Do it live. Let's see, paste and paste and paste. Jeez, I feel like I'm the only one who pastes and posts. I'm the only one who posts in that one. Okay, paste and paste, and this is in a specific area, so I paste there. There we have it. And finally, as far as this goes, all right, everything is pasted and posted, so there you have both. And now I just need to do the other services, because there are no shortage of services that you have to. Whoa, okay, got it. Yes, I understand. I'm live on my own channel, but thank you. I get it. You have to post on everything, and I don't post on everything. Trust me when I tell you, I do not post on lots of places that people. I mean, if I was to post on every single platform that you could possibly post anything on, it would be 30 minutes before the stream would even start. If I was using Threads and Mastodon and, I don't know, Snapchat and whatever else there is now, TikTok. I'm actually somewhat happy TikTok destroyed my accounts. It's fine. You know what? I don't need one more stupid thing to be posting on. Believe me when I tell you, I do not. So I am not all that unhappy about that at all. Okay, so one last place to post. Okay, and come on. Go over here and say, I'm just going to go ahead and redo that, and then I shall mute this for at least an hour so that there's no sound coming through, because I don't need to interrupt anything, and I know I'm live and I can go ahead and do that. Okay, perfect. All right, so let me get a drink of water really quick here because, well, hold on. Ooh, very nice. Because I had Taco Bell for dinner, because I had to do a lot of walking around this morning in the heat. It's 103 degrees currently. It was not that hot this morning or I would be dead. But the funny part is, actually, let me start my little pre-roll here thing. The funny part about that is that, I didn't make sure reflector's working. Hold on, sorry. And reflector. Ooh, just in time. The funny part about eating Taco Bell, two things. One of the reasons, Taco Bell is garbage. Don't get me wrong. It's terrible. It's not even really food. But they do let you do lots of options with it. Far more than a lot of other places. Where you can, because I'm largely vegetarian, not totally, but I largely am. The only thing I really make an exception for is hamburgers, but I've largely jettisoned meat from my diet, and Taco Bell lets you substitute lots of stuff for meat. But the thing though is, it's awful. It's terrible food for you. It's not good. But I had the food that I had, because I'd eaten so little. I was so busy this morning with work. I ate almost nothing. So even though I ate over 2,000 calories worth of Taco Bell for the day, because I track my calories just to keep an eye on stuff, just for health reasons, I was only over 68 calories because I'd walked so much and because I'd eaten so little in the first half of the day. Normally, eating 2 Crunchwrap Supremes and 2 Doritos Gordita Wrap, whatever they're called, normally those would annihilate my calorie count. I don't eat it very often, but I know it's bad when I do. But the fact that I had walked so much, it really barely even registered. So I don't feel so bad about eating it today. Now we're going to do something a little different in this particular stream. What I'm going to do is I'm going to take this which is my glass layer. I'm going to copy it. I'm going to come out here. I'm going to make a new one, a new clipboard size thing. And there it is. Now what I want to do is I need to, wait, why is the, oh, it kept the, that's not going to work. Okay, hold on. I know how I have to do this. I thought that was going to work. That's not going to work. All right, no problem. Oh, it is going to work. It's just not going to work the way I thought it was going to work. So I'll show you what I'm trying to do. Oh, maybe it's because the background was there. Hold on. Now if I do a copy, will it let me do it? Let's see. It might be because the background was on. No, it's not. It just doesn't work. All right, that's fine. It should, but I guess because it's, hey, whatever. I'm going to duplicate the entire thing. So I'm duplicating the whole image, but I really don't need the whole image. And in fact, I'm going to delete everything else because I don't need it. And I have the other image, so it's fine. So just delete all this stuff. I mean, this is a lot of effort for what I'm doing, but whatever. This is how it has to get done. So we'll just delete all this out. Okay, until we're down to just this particular layer right here. Now, I'm going to export this particular layer, just this, to a ping file. The reason I'm doing a ping file, oh, I can airdrop it to, well, let's just do save. It doesn't matter. Okay, so let's, let me do this. So let's go over to, let's see if this works. Oh, there's Photoshop. Okay, because we're going to Photoshop. So in Photoshop, oops, in Photoshop, I need to first share this image over. So let me do, bear with me 2 seconds. I'm going to get the image over there. So I need to take this and I need to do an airdrop share of it to myself. Okay. You may have heard that little beep. That's me accepting the photo in the background. There it is. Why is it showing up like that? I don't know why. Why is that showing up like that? That's really weird. That doesn't. Oh, I can close this. I don't need this either. Shoop. Close that. Thank you. Okay, so now I'm going to. You should be able to see this. And I'm going to say open downloads. Where did that image go? Hold on a minute. I got to find it. The stupid part is I should not have put it there. I should have put it right there. Okay, now let's do open. And let's go to desktop, and let's just open this ping file. There we go. Okay. All right, so here is the ping file. And the reason that's a ping file is because that allows it to have transparency. So what I'm going to do, because it occurred to me that one thing I don't... Oh, I see why it looked black like that. Okay. Hold on, I want to make sure I don't delete the wrong image over here. Okay, so I need to delete this one. There we go. And excellent. Okay, so... what I'm going to do here is I'm going to do a color layer over this. So I'm going to say, what's the easiest way to do this? It's, you know what? Because I know how this thing is going to, actually, no, it should be okay. So if I do color overlay, I'm going to pick a very bright color, like let's say, let's pick a different color. How about like an orange or maybe, ooh, yeah, let's do a blue like that. Okay, so we're going to do this powder blue or whatever. Now, the important, well, I'll show you. I'll just tell, instead of me telling you, I'll just show you. So I'm going to say save, right? That's going to save that ping file, right? And now I'm going to send it back to myself. So let's go ahead and do a, where's share? And I'm going to, you can't see this, I don't think, because I don't think it's showing this, because all you're seeing is Photoshop, yeah. But that's fine. So let's go ahead and share that back. And it's sending. There it is. Ooh, man, that's cool looking. Okay, so, all right. So let's now jump back to the iPad, the iPad. So let's say back to, so let's turn the PlayStation layer off. Photoshop layer off. Here we're back at our original image. So now I'm going to do a add, insert photo. Do that. Okay, so see now what I have is a colored version of that same exact glass layer. And what that allows me to do is I can now do like hue and saturation. I can change the colors on it because that might work better for some of these layers. So what I'm going to eventually end up doing is I'm going to end up doing that for all of these layers once I'm done, so that I have color versions. And that way, you know, if I determine that one works better, I'll show you what I'm talking about. Again, why say it when I can show you? So let me turn on the colors. Okay, so now that might work better than just black or white, right? So if I go to that layer and I say, oh, you know what? I want this to have some color to it, right? I can see how that looks better. That looks better than just black or white. And I can even, I can reduce saturation so it's light, pump the brightness up, pump the brightness down. There's lots of things I can do with that. I'm going to go back to blue just so I don't screw with anything yet. Okay, but that's why I'm doing it. So that, because you can see here, like you can see where this glass layer is here. Even if I invert this, it's just black or white. Like there's very little variation to it. Whereas with this, I have a lot of tools with that. So once all these glass layers are done, I'm going to export every one, put them into Photoshop, do a color layer over it. It really doesn't matter what color I put on it. It doesn't have to be the color I think it's going to be. But then I could start playing with color in each of these. Each of these glass layers can have a different kind of marbleization to it, if you want to call that. So I don't know why I didn't do that from the beginning. Actually, yes, I don't know why I didn't use a color when I made the glass brushes, but regardless, it doesn't matter when you think of something. It just matters that you think of something. So in any event, that's why I'm doing that. So I'm just checking a few things. I believe with this, yes, I know what I'm doing with this. So this, but I'm close to being done with these glass layers now. I just have to finish what I'm doing here. So let's go ahead and... Hi, Maggie. That's my dog. Talking to her in the background. Hi, cutie. You can come in or you can go wherever you want. We're taking her... Did I mention this on the stream? I don't know if I talked about this on a stream. I don't think I did. I think I mentioned that she's been having some mobility issues lately, which I think I did mention some of this, which we think are related to her front left leg. So maybe I did. Maybe I did mention that we're going to take her to the rehab place that helped her out when she had her hip surgery on Saturday. So we're just keeping her nice and calm until then. Unfortunately, I mean, don't get me wrong, she is limping. There's no way around that. But it has not gotten worse. It has stayed pretty consistent, which isn't... Listen, I would have loved if it suddenly just massively improved on its own. If you think I wasn't hoping that would happen, believe me when I tell you, I was hoping. But that's okay. That's just, it's the way it is. I'm glad we were able to get in as quick as we could to the rehab place, because when I talk about this place is a pet rehab place, I'm not talking about some little hole in the wall, place that just happens to be able to do some stuff with pets. I'm talking about this place is I don't know if you would necessarily call it state of the art, but it's the most intricate veterinary rehab center I've ever seen in my life. That's for sure. I mean, they have, water-based treadmills where they fill it with water and then there's a treadmill underneath. They did a lot of really good work with her when she had her hip surgery. So I am really hopeful that they can help us get her where she's, she may not ever walk without a limp again. I mean, we knew that was a possibility when her hips got done, just because her hips were so bad, and she's never quite walked straight since then. But we'd like to get her back to where it doesn't look like she's in a lot of discomfort, and I think they're going to be able to. I really hope they can help us. I think if anybody can, let's put it that way, if anybody can do it, I think these are the folks to do it, because they did a really good job the first time. I think this is. I wish I had thought to do that earlier. I'll say that. I wish it had occurred to me to do this earlier, but better late than never. And like I said, we were lucky because we were able to get her in, because I dreaded that, they might not have appointments for months. And then, it's like, well, we can't wait that long. But to wait a week, okay, we can wait a week. That's all right, because that also gave us time to kind of watch what she's doing and see if we see any, big changes. And we really haven't. There's been nothing, which is... I, again, wish it had improved, but at the same time, the fact that it hasn't gotten worse and worse and worse is in itself a good thing. a stalemate situation is better than decline. So that's good, because if it had just kept getting worse, then you have to start thinking about, okay, is there a neurological problem? Is she, is there something else? Has she got like a growth on her spine or something that's causing this? That would, even though you're keeping her from doing much, if she's still having problems, then you got to start worrying. I mean, don't get me wrong, I'm worried now, but you got to really start worrying. At least I would. I'm not able to. Actually, I've been all right, I have to say. I was much more worried earlier on, but I think once, I know for me, for my particular type of anxiety, having a plan, knowing that there's a next step, is really what I need to avoid the worst of my anxiety. When I don't know what's coming, when I don't know what's going on, when I don't feel like there is a plan of action, that's when I struggle. And that early on, I was having that problem where I was like, well, what are we supposed to do here? And I had a rough couple of days with that. Now it's like, okay, we're going to go up there, and these people last time, they basically, and I imagine it's going to be something similar. What they did was they set up a rehab routine where we'd bring her up. It's a little over an hour away, so it's not right next door, but that's not terrible. It's not terrible. It could be a lot worse than that. I mean, we're lucky there's one around at all. There could be none. There could be no rehab places anywhere nearby. You could be talking about driving 4 hours. Who knows? So number one, I'm not going to complain about an hour. That's not that bad. And what they did was we would bring her up there, and we would, they would work with her for an hour. Now, that was during COVID, so I don't know how it's going to be now, because that was back in 2020. So we could not go inside. They were not letting anybody in, for health reasons, which was fine. I completely understood that. I had no issues with it, because I'm not, as I've said all along, one of my things is I don't want to make nobody else sick. I'm very, very clear on that. You can have whatever opinions you want about COVID. I really don't care. I don't want to hear them. But for me, my thing is I don't want to be responsible for getting anybody sick. So when they said, oh, you can't come in, I'm like, that's fine. No problem. So basically they would take her and work with her and then bring her back out after an hour, and then they gave us homework. Okay, bring her home, have her do these things. And we followed that, and it really improved how she was doing, because she was recovering, but it was going slow. And, I think we were very smart to bring her somewhere, because I don't know that we really would have. I don't know that her recovery from that, because that was big surgery, both hips. It's a big deal. I don't know that recovery would have gone as well if we had not had their help. So that's where I'm kind of at with this, where, okay, you know what? Let's go talk to some people who know what they're talking about when it comes to this type of thing. And let's see what their suggestions are, and we're going to follow them. And whatever we got to do, we're going to do. And if we got to bring her up there for a while, then we'll bring her up there for a while, and that's what's going to happen. That's just how it's going to have to be. Because, I think if we just hope this thing gets better on its own, it probably won't, and I don't want her to end up in a worse state because we did nothing. I know that if as has been suggested, it is just arthritis, and it could be, and not anything more. Arthritis, you have to exercise to keep that from getting worse. It will get worse. So, like I said, I'm happy that we have a plan. I think it's going to be good for her. I think it's going to be good for us. It'll be good for me. So, we're gonna see what goes on here. But that'll be on Saturday. So we're just keeping her from doing too much, which was always the plan anyway, and just kind of relax, because I'm sure, they're gonna, when they get a hold of her, they're gonna put her to work. So she'll be doing plenty. So let her rest now, and that way, because just as an example, I don't think I mentioned this on the stream before, but if I did, I apologize to them. Repeating myself. But I was not aware that with arthritis in dogs, you have to be careful about uneven surfaces. Well, we were letting her climb up and off of our couch all the time. And I'm sitting here going, yeah, that's probably not helping. You know, that probably was making it worse because uneven surfaces are apparently bad for arthritis. I don't know. I've never had a dog with arthritis before, so I really just didn't know what, I didn't know what to look for. So now we know, okay, no up and down on the couch. Just, I'm sure she's not thrilled about it. She used to like getting up on it. She had her own couch. So I'm sure and maybe at some point it'll be okay to do that again, but not right now. And that's just, again, that's how it has to be until we know what we're doing. I don't enjoy the fact that we had to, what I'll call take the couch away from her. It makes it sound like, we're punishing her, which we're not. But I'm not thrilled that we have to not let her up there. But, until somebody tells me, oh, it's no big deal, and maybe they will. Maybe they'll say, oh, no, that's not going to hurt her. Okay. They tell me that, then I'm going to listen to that. I have no problem listening to what people tell me when they know more about something than I do. I'll be like, okay, I'm putting my faith that you have this knowledge, and I will follow it. I think there's a bit of a shortage of that in the world, where everybody thinks they're the expert on everything, which is pretty dumb. Ironically, that's pretty dumb. It is. It's pretty dumb. But, like I said, I feel good about the fact that we have a plan. We'll see what they find. But at least we'll have some... Oh, I did start doing that. Whoops. Okay, I'm going to turn all those off. That was a mistake. Okay, so hold on that. Okay, that. We'll have a plan. We'll have an action plan of some kind. And that'll be good. So yes, I ate really, really bad food today, which I've been doing good with that. I'm watching calories. I've kind of found that that's working. The calorie counting does, just keeping it, not even calorie counting. I wouldn't even call it that because I go over at times and I don't really mind. But I think there is a value for me anyway in knowing what foods are really blowing. And it's surprising at times. There are things that don't seem like they should have nearly as many calories as they do. The one downside, by the way, of Taco Bell is it makes me exceptionally thirsty, so I need to get a drink of water. Hold on. Oh, sorry. I didn't realize that the feed had quit there. That had to have just happened. I hope it just happened. Hold on, it's coming back. It'll be back in a second. Really? Jeez. That should have recovered automatically. Oh, whatever. Oh, maybe it was a different number. Hold on. Oh. There we go. Yeah, so the one bad thing about Taco Bell is it's extremely salty. So, yeah. Oh, wait a minute. Did I? Okay. All right. Okay. So, yeah, I'm really thirsty. But yeah, I'm just, keeping an eye on things. And I'm slowly losing weight, which is good. I'm fine with losing weight slow. I'm not one of these people who, I weigh myself on the first of the month just to kind of keep an eye on things. And I think last month I lost 0.4 pounds. That's fine. It's fine. I'm never going to be skinny. I know that. Unless I get really sick, then maybe. But normally, am I ever going to be a skinny person? No. And I don't really care. That, the outward appearance to me is not a measure of health. It never has been. The important things to me over the years have been the numbers when I get my blood work and that type of stuff done. And those numbers have been trending over the years better, which is somewhat surprising, but that's because I'm just paying attention to little things. I'm not trying to suddenly, drop a ton of weight. I think some people they get caught up in that. It's like, oh wait, did I just? Yep, I screwed that up. So okay, well, this happens. This whole outer thing is shot because I did one in the wrong direction. So we'll just do that over. Inner one is fine, but outer one is shot. This is typical for me. I usually end up screwing it up somehow. That's fine. As long as one of them's good, we're okay. But yeah. So, the calorie thing, and even that, every 3 years, there's a news story that says Oh, calorie counts don't actually correspond to reality. Okay, well, then they don't. It's fine, whatever. It's still, I think, let's put it this way, it may not be exact, but I think it probably at least gives you an idea. That's okay. So it's all little steps. I find that for me, little steps work. Little steps work. Oh, and I don't know if anybody watching the stream is aware of this, but there was a kerfuffle because I pulled up Photoshop earlier. There's a lot of anger towards Adobe lately because they updated their terms of service in a way where their terms were vague and made some people think that Adobe was claiming that they could take control of all of your artwork. And so people got very upset, and they said, well, I'm going to quit. I'm going to cancel. And Adobe has, oh man, look at that. I kind of, I can fix that. Yeah, I can fudge that a little. There we go. That's fine. Adobe has since come out and said, no. We're not stealing your work, which I don't think we ever were anyway. We're not stealing your work. We'll update our terms. We're sorry. We used bad language. And and then of course there's conspiracy people who are like, oh, they did it as a test balloon. They wanted to see if they could get away with it. They knew what they were doing. I seriously doubt it. I don't think they knew what they were doing. If you work at a big company, what you will find is, astonishingly, a lot of times people do post language without actually running it by people who could say, wait a minute, that could be interpreted wrong. It happens a lot. So I don't think Adobe was secretly trying to see if they could get away with this. It was just somebody in marketing said we have to update the terms of service, and they did it in a sloppy manner. Trust me, I've seen it done. It happens more often than you think. A lot of times it gets caught. A lot of times somebody will review it before it is actually posted to the public and say, whoa, wait a second. Whoa, you can't say that. You have to remember that lawyers, the legal teams in these companies, they operate from a pure liability standpoint. They're not thinking about the creators. They have no interest in that. What they're trying to do is shield the company or give the company a tool it needs. They're not interested on on what the impact to a creator is. Are you kidding? You think they have, what's the distortion? Like, was it this? Well, distortion didn't seem to change much. I was like, oh, distortion to the max. What does it do? Not much. Yeah, they don't care. Lawyers are not concerned about that. That is not something a lawyer has any concern about. Trust me. So I don't think it was some secret plot by Adobe to take over the artwork of all their people. I mean, does that make any business sense to anybody with a brain? Come on. You really think Adobe was going to try to do that? Of course they weren't. It's nonsense. Don't get me wrong. It's good that people got angry. It demonstrates to the company that their users are going to say, wait a second, if something truly bad happens. And that is an important lesson for companies to have, because far too many companies at the moment operate as if they are, and in many cases they aren't, subject to anything other than their own whims. And that's bad. But that's a byproduct of a country where the word regulation has become, a dirty term. But we won't veer too far into that tonight. So it is, when you have no other recourse, it is good to see that a company will look at something that their users do and say, we better back off this. Or at least we better make it really clear that this is not what we're doing, because these people are going to leave. And if we don't have any customers, we're not going to be a company for very long. So in that way, I was happy to see people getting upset. I think they went a little overboard because, again, I don't think this was actually some kind of, I'm sorry, I just don't think it's some kind of secret nefarious plot by Adobe to take over their users' artwork. It just makes no sense. That just makes no sense if you actually think about it. Why? What, are you kidding? This would be like if you found out tomorrow that if somebody said that Apple was secretly reading every single message you ever put to their platform. They've staked their entire reputation on user privacy. Why would they do such a thing? It would be a catastrophically ridiculous self-torpedoing move. Come on, everybody. Think for a minute. I'm not saying that and that's not to say, because I think what often is more the case, don't get me wrong, not always, but a lot of times, again, this comes from companies. You have to remember, companies don't act as a monolith. Companies aren't a big singular organ when they get to a large size. Sure, if a company is one person, if it's a developer or something, then yeah, that person's running everything. Even small companies, you could see more of a groupthink mentality where everybody's on the same page because it's a small company. And I'm talking about pretty small, like 50 people or less. Then it is more reasonable to think, well, everybody must know what's going on. But when you're getting into a company that has hundreds or thousands of employees across the world, you think everybody knows what's going on? You think they're actually all coordinating? They're not. Trust me when I tell you, they are not. And so again, what the Adobe thing felt like to me was that a lawyer somewhere, where is the one with the center? There we go. That a lawyer somewhere wrote, okay, we have to update our terms of service to say this, and it didn't get cleared. You know, nobody else looked at it and said, whoa, wait a minute, you can't just say it like that, because a creative person, an artist that uses our tools might read that and think it means we're going to take their work. So we have to change that language, or we have to be specific about what we're not doing. Lawyer's not going to do that. Lawyer doesn't care. Lawyer's looking at liability. That's what it is. So again, I when I saw people getting all upset about this, I went, okay, you know, you want to be angry about something, go ahead, be angry about something, but let's not pretend that this is actually something serious. It's not. It's not. You know, but I get it. I get it. There's a very especially big tech, and Adobe does to a lot of people come across as big tech, even though, yeah, they're not really the same as, say, Microsoft or Google or Apple or any of those. They're not really that. I mean, they're a big company, don't get me wrong. And they do have a monopoly on, I mean, people say, I'm going to Photoshop it. It's not good. That does give the company a lot of control over I mean, there are good alternatives to Photoshop, which is good, I'm very happy about that. I think that it's vital for everybody that we have good alternatives to things so that you don't get trapped. Because let's say Adobe did decide tomorrow to update their terms and say, yeah, if you're using Photoshop, every single thing you've ever made with it, we own it. Well, then you need to leave and you have to have something else to go to. And there's not a lot of options outside of Photoshop. I mean, there are better ones now than there ever have been, but if you went back, say, I don't know, 10 years, maybe not even, maybe 5 years, you would not be finding a lot of alternatives. You would find, I mean, GIMP that's an open source photo editor. GIMP has been around for a long time. It does a lot of things, but you go back 5 years, it was certainly not a Photoshop competitor. I mean, you couldn't even say that seriously. So I do think it's good that, as I said, I think it's good that users got upset about it and voiced those concerns in a way that Adobe had to listen to. I think that's great. But I don't for a second really think that Adobe, as some kind of overall corporate strategy, was like, we're going to take our artists' work. It's just nonsense. You know? I mean, I'm sorry, it's nonsense. It's funny to me that people even believe that. While at the same time, I can't pretend I'm entirely shocked, because Adobe does do things at times that are, is there a sensitivity to this thing? Just trying to figure out if there's a way to lighten that up. I guess not. Okay. That's fine. That'll do it. That's fine. Adobe has certainly done things that, you know, annoy people. Can't deny it. I think that their subscription pricing is certainly higher than it needs to be for a company that makes as much money as it does. I think they could afford to cut their subscription price in half. And not only would they have happier subscribers, but they would also likely get more subscribers. You know, and they would make it. It's not like people don't know what Photoshop is. People know what Photoshop is. It is a verb, right? To Photoshop something. Yeah, it's a verb, right? Yeah, verb. My sister could tell me that. She's a teacher. I believe to say that you can, I'm going to Photoshop, it means it's a verb. But I could be wrong. Not an English major, obviously. Why are you thinking about art school? So, would it be a good idea? In fact, I think at some point. At some point, I'm curious what Adobe does, because they are definitely under threat from other tools. Things like Affinity Photo. Premiere is certainly vulnerable to DaVinci Resolve. I think it's called Resolve. There are other products out there. They are certainly not the entire market anymore. At all. And in that particular landscape, do I think at some point they're going to have to do something? Yes, now they could actually be really dumb and raise prices. We've seen that type of move. It's not like nobody's ever done that. I think it's tremendously stupid if they do, but at the same time, they could do it. And then, a lot of people would have to, including me, depending on how much they raised it, I would actually really have to look at it and say, okay, is this, is it time to start moving out? Because there is a finite amount of money that most people have, unless you're Jeff Bezos or Bill Gates or Mark Zuckerberg or somebody who has more money than a human being should be legally allowed to have. Outside of those individuals and their quite large pockets, everybody else has to make decisions based on the available funds. And if they were to raise their prices 20 or 30%, I would have to take a hard look at whether I could still do it or not. I mean, much as I love and live in Photoshop a lot, if it's oh wait, here we go. Is my sister chiming in? Yes, verb. Thank you, Gina. My sister, the teacher, confirms that to Photoshop something is a verb. So apparently, I did not forget everything from school. I forgot most things, but not everything. Yeah, so my point is that Adobe, if they were to raise their prices significantly, my air conditioning is more important than Photoshop. I got to pay my energy bill, which ain't going down like everybody else, especially as there's more and more heat. And there's going to be more and more heat. I've seen nothing from anywhere that suggests there's going to be less heat as time goes on. So I can't boil to death. Photoshop is not going to keep my brain from melting in my skull. So yeah, if they did that, and it would be stupid, and I would really hope they would actually consider the opposite thing, which might be to make a lower priced plans. They could strip some of it out, because right now basically there's a couple of bundles they've got where you get things like, there's a Photoshop bundle which I think comes with Photoshop and Lightroom, I want to say. I haven't looked at it to see what their bundles now have, but they do have these bundled options. And if they were to do bundles that were cheaper, or where you could, let's say, just pick 2 programs, that would actually be really nice. If you could just pick any 2 programs from their portfolio for, I don't know, whatever the amount would be. They'd have to determine that, but that would be something interesting. I think that would be compelling for a lot of people. I think. I don't know, but I think. So I don't know. I don't know what they're going to do. I would guess, though, they're going to change something in the next couple years in terms of their pricing or their offerings. And I love Adobe. I do. I really do. Oh, wait. I realized that is the mirroring still on? Yeah, it is. I gotta turn it off. I really do love Photoshop. I mean, I've used it for so long. I've used Photoshop. I'm pretty sure I've said this on the stream before. I've used Photoshop since version 3. Now, version 3 of Photoshop came out in, bear with me a minute. Hold on. Photoshop. It was high school, so it was a while ago. Photoshop, I mean, I don't know if I literally used it as soon as it came out. Photoshop 3.0 came out in 1994. That's 30 years ago. I've been using Photoshop in some form for 30 years. And I'm pretty good with it. I'm not, actually, I probably could teach a class on it. It'd be a crappy class, but I could do it. I mean, I could walk people through doing a lot of stuff in Photoshop. I've used it for that long. Right? So if I had to ditch it next year to use something else, it would be a painful learning curve. I could do it. I could do it. I don't want to do it. But if they did something stupid, like saying we're going to raise our prices 30%, and I'm not saying that I've seen anything that indicates they're going to raise their prices 30%, but companies have done some. I mean, I look at like Netflix and all these streaming services who are raising all their prices while continuing to push. I mean, this stuff is not going to last. It's just not. There is not infinite money for most people. I am somewhat astonished by, I mean, I'm not, they're greedy companies, so I'm not really surprised, but at the same time, just sitting there going, yeah, there's a limit, everybody. That train is going to hit into a wall soon. I don't know when, and I don't know how, but I don't think it's just going to keep going. All right, so let's take a look at what we got here. So I don't know. I don't want that to be the case, because like I said, I really like Photoshop. And I really do not think that the terms thing is anything. It got made into something by a lot of people who are just upset with, well, I think with Adobe's case, they are upset that Adobe's doing anything with AI stuff, anything with generated images. I think there's still a lot of people that are very, there's just those hardcore anti-AI people. And, Adobe does have an AI product, so I think some of that at least is coming from that anger that they're still doing anything with AI stuff. And, hey, they're going to do it because they kind of have to be honest. They do kind of have to, because they are in a creative space. There is a what's the word? A negative impact now. I mean, because unfortunately everything's based on the friggin' stock market, which is, I'm not going to get into that now either, because I think there's so many problems with the way our stuff is structured, but let's not turn this into that. But because stock price rules everything with a company, and let's be honest, it does. It's not whether the company's actually good at what they do or not. It's whether the stock market approves of what they do or not. That's the reality. And being that that's the case, right now, not having something in your portfolio that has the letters A and I in it is going to negatively impact your stock. And that's just how it is right now. Whether you think that what's going on with those products is good or bad is irrelevant. I'll get another drink because I'm so thirsty. There we go. Okay. So Adobe, and the way they're trying to do it, I do think, I have said this before, may not have been on the stream, might have been in one of the podcast shorts that I did, but I know we talked about it on the show. But Adobe is trying, I believe, sincerely. I don't think it's in bad faith. I think they are legitimately trying to figure out some way to do the generative tool model in a way that respects artist creations, where they're saying, well, we're not just going to scrape everything. What we're going to do is we're going to ingest images and material from people who have approved us using it, and or from stock images that are sold where you don't have the same expectation of where I mean, stock images are sold to be used by other people in their stuff. That is their purpose. So you really, I mean, if somebody's doing stock images, they really can't. They have a bit less of a complaint about AI ingestion. I mean, they should be compensated, and I think Adobe is saying that's what they're doing. But there is less of a realistic objection to that from somebody who's doing stock imagery, because stock imagery is meant to be taken and used in something after it has been paid for, of course. which Adobe is saying it's doing. So we have to go by Adobe's word. You know, we do have to trust them that that's what they're doing. But so far, I haven't. Again, Adobe has to be careful because their user base is mostly, if not, it wouldn't be exclusively, but almost exclusively creative individuals. If they stomp on the creative community, they don't have a customer base anymore. So I do somewhat trust them when they say they're doing this stuff, because if it comes out they're not, they're going to lose. There are legitimate alternatives now. Where again, if you go back to, certainly back when I was using the early days of Photoshop, there was nobody like Photoshop. They were it. If they did something terrible, the alternative was nothing. You could use nothing. And that was it. Now, not the same thing. And that's why competition within a marketplace is very vital. And why you don't want to have super companies doing things, because then there is no alternative if they decide that they. And let's be very honest about something, and this is something that does mystify me about a lot of people in the world right now. People who think companies are their friends. No company, nowhere, no how cares about you. They don't care about you unless you're very, very rich, in which case you don't care about them either. So it's fine. But short of very, very rich people, companies do not care about you. They couldn't care less whether you live or die. Well, actually, I shouldn't say it that way. They do care if you die, because then they can't get any more money from you. But that's really what they care about. They don't care about you. They care about your money. So if, say, any company, it doesn't even have to be Adobe, any company gets to a point where they really have an entire group of people under their thumb, then they can do whatever they want. And we've seen that. That's kind of what's going on with all the streaming services, especially with like Netflix raising their prices multiple times in a year, is because they know that there are people who won't leave. Some will, but it'll probably be a small amount. So, you know, when they get to a certain point, they can say, yeah, all right, yeah, you got to pay more now. Or you can cancel, but we know you won't, so you're going to pay us more now. Even if it's a tough argument that their content warrants a price raise. You know? I mean, I dumped Netflix, geez, I want to say 6 months ago now? I forget routinely that we ever had it. You know? I renewed it for, what did I renew it for? I renewed it for one thing. Oh, 3 Body Problem. I renewed it for a month, watched 3 Body Problem, canceled. That's a perfectly fine model for me. Wait for something that I actually care about to be on there, or a few things, depending. Like when Cobra Kai comes out, not just the first part. There's something else I can't stand. This whole let's do part 1. No, stop. So when Cobra Kai comes out in its entirety, and not before, then I'll renew it so we can watch that, and then I'll cancel it again. You know, unless there's something else, but probably won't be. You know, when Stranger Things, the final season, comes out, sure, renew, 1 month, watch, cancel. I just did that with, what did I just cancel? I just canceled something the other day because I went, yep, okay, time to cancel. I don't remember what it was, but something, as soon as I, good tip, as soon as I subscribe to a service, for whatever term I subscribed for, let's say it's a year, I will then set a calendar reminder, not reminder, a calendar reminder for 1 week before the end date, or the renewal date, I should say, because a lot of them now, they want you to do auto-renew in order to get the best price. That's fine, do the auto-renew. Set a calendar item for 1 week before that renewal happens. And there's a couple reasons you want to do a week, and you could even do further, but some services, the minute you cancel, you lose access, which is really scummy. So that's why I think a week is a pretty good amount of time. But also, just on the off chance that if you do it the day before and you happen to go to cancel it and their website's down, well, then you're going to get a renewal. And you can't necessarily be that upset because, you know, you waited till the last minute. So I think a week is good. Because most things, losing it, if they were to do the instant shut off, most services, you're not going to miss it if it's a week. A month, maybe, but a week, I doubt it. But that's all. So I just a little calendar remind them, and it says, all right, cancel this. And at that point, it makes me actually think about how much I used it in the last, however many months that I had it subscribed for. And if I really think, oh yeah, you know what, I didn't think I was going to like this thing, but I really do, then I'll keep it. And there's very few of those. Most of them I end up canceling. Because, there's good stuff on them, don't get me wrong, but I don't have enough time to watch everything that's on these either. That's another thing. With all these price hikes and everything, people are going to get to a point where they're going to burn out of being able to watch everything. They just are. There's so many shows that go on for so long that you can't possibly watch them all. You just physically can't. Most people don't have the time. I mean, I've definitely had that where I'm like, oh, I'm going to watch this, and I realize, oh, geez, never got around to watching it. Just how it is. So yeah, calendar item. Really good move if you don't want to get, because, they love you to forget about the renewal times coming up. You notice they do send you reminders that you're going to renew, but they tend to do it way ahead. Because that way they figure, oh yeah, I'm not going to cancel it today. It's so far out. I'll do it when it gets closer, or I'll think about it then. And of course, by the time that comes around, you've forgotten about it because it's been so long. That's stupid. They know what they're doing. They're not stupid. And it's clever. There's lots of these little things that when you really step back and look at how they get you to do things, it's really, say what you will about the greed of it, but it's smart moves. Like I said, the whole, subscribe for a year and you'll get a big discount. And hopefully you'll forget that you have to renew it in a year. You'll have other things going on and we'll just go ahead and, we'll bill you. No, you forgot. What a shame. What a shame. We sent you a reminder 6 months ago. You can't say we didn't tell you. So, sorry, but the renewal came up already, and you paid. I've had that happen. That's what got me into doing the calendar items. I was so sure I'd be able to remember. Not with my Swiss cheese brain, no way. I absolutely did not remember. Let me switch this to Vivid, because I know I have some overlaps. Yeah, see that? Overlap, 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 overlap. Overlap, 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 overlap. So yeah, make sure you set a calendar item to cancel things, free trials, whatever. Actually, there's something else funny I ran into the other day. I actually was going to do a free trial of Apple TV Plus or whatever they call it. Couldn't do it. Every time I would agree to the trial, it would just cycle back around. This is a Apple, everything always works, huh? Type of story. Yeah, every time I would say, yes, I would like to try out a free thing of your service, it would just spin back to the same thing. It would never allow me to get a free trial. So I did that, 5 or 6 times. And I said, you know what? I don't care that much. And I didn't. And that did it. So Apple actually was the one that defeated that one. I was actually willing to try their service. And the stupid part is, I know on I don't think on this account, I'm pretty sure it was on my wife's account, we had Apple TV Plus at one point on a free trial. So it's weird that it wouldn't let, because I wasn't using that account. So that would have at least made some sense, but we weren't using it. So I don't know what happened there. I really don't. But that's just that was more of a, Apple supposedly everything always works type of story. And it's like, no, not so much. It's a good thing I wasn't somebody who actually really wanted to pay for it. I'd be really irritated. Then they would have actually lost some money. I would have canceled my free trial. I'll just be honest about it. I would have tried it, canceled it, and then maybe when Severance comes back on, I would renew again. Because that's what I mean. We watched the first season of Severance, so I know we've had it before. Not on my account, but on my wife's account. So I know we've had it. Maybe it just didn't like the fact that I wanted to do it. I don't know. I couldn't tell you. But I'm not kidding. When she watched me and she's like, what are you doing? I'm trying to just do a free trial. I cannot, this thing will not let me get a free trial. Now, don't get me wrong. It wouldn't proceed past anything. So even if it had come up and said, well, okay, you can pay for it. No, I couldn't even done that. just wouldn't let me do anything. Stupid thing. But yeah, I don't know. I don't know how. I don't know where all these price increases are going to go. Because, like I said, there's only so much money that most people have. And the risk is you keep bumping the prices up. At some point, you're going to have somebody take more than a casual look at how much they're using your service. And they'll have to make a decision. And that decision may go your way 8 times out of 10, but that means you've lost 2 out of those 10 people that might have stayed in with basically pricing inertia because they didn't feel like they really had a drive to quit your service, even if you were raising prices. Or if you hadn't raised prices, I mean, they wouldn't have cared about the fact that they didn't use it so much because they were just kind of used to paying it. The minute you start bumping prices up, well, then you get people to start saying, well, wait a minute, am I actually using this thing? And that can be a uh-oh moment if they're not, because they're going to make a... most times, when it comes to people and their money and how they spend it, if they find that they're spending money on something they're not using and they're asked to spend more, usually they opt not to. Not everybody, but a lot will say, yeah, I've changed my mind on that. I don't think I need you anymore. And they'll ditch out. So, and Adobe is having they have their Adobe Max conference in October, which I will not be attending in person because I'm not going to Miami. If it had been in LA again, I probably would have gone. But I'm not, number one, I've never had interest in Miami. I just don't. I'm not saying it's a bad city. It's probably very nice. No interest. I'm not 20 and single. Maybe if I was, I'd care. But Miami has always seemed like a town for younger people, and frankly, people who are in much better shape than me. And I also don't like flying, so I'm not flying to Miami to go to an Adobe thing. But I will be paying attention to whether they give any kind of indication on changing their pricing model. That will be really interesting. I will be keeping an ear on that one. And an eye, because I'll be watching it. It'll be a video presentation to it there. I do like the fact that they have at least some of their stuff is free. Give them that credit. They could wall off all of Adobe Max, even the virtual stuff. They do have virtual sessions you can take for free. So I have to be fair. If I'm going to criticize a company or anybody, I have to be fair and give credit too if I think they actually genuinely do something good. And I think that is something that they have maintained. I mean, they could have stopped that after COVID became less of a problem. They could have said, nope, we're going back to you have to pay for everything. They could have very easily. A lot of companies did, but they haven't. You don't get everything. There are parts that are walled off, but that's perfectly fair. They are putting on. I've gone to 3 Adobe Max events, and let me tell you, they don't go cheap on it. It's when you are there. I talked about this. I did a show with Ant Pruitt, the photographer, after we did an Adobe Max kind of, what do we call it, like retrospective? I don't know. I don't remember what the name was for it, a review or whatever. We're going to do it again this year, but we did it for last year's, and we both said, before they had said it's going to be in Miami. We both kind of assumed it would be in LA again, as it's been the last couple of years. I wish it'd go back to San Diego. I loved it when it was in San Diego. That was fantastic. I don't know why they haven't gone back to San Diego. It is such a beautiful city to have something like that in. But anyway, we both said if you can get to Max, you really should, because it's got this really beautiful energy to it where you're just surrounded by creative people, and you get such a sense of that energy. Even if you're just sitting in, and I've done this at all the ones I went to, I would just sit in the hallways sometimes and just kind of people watch and listen to people talking about all these interesting things they're doing, and it just fires you up. It just makes you want to create everything you possibly can in 5 minutes, which of course that dies off because you realize how much work there is and everything. But it's the only thing I've ever been to that's like that, where I just feel like I'm among my people, I guess, in terms of that, because everybody there is a creative individual, and there is just this wonderful energy to it. There's just this great community to it. And this all sounds like hippy dippy stuff, I know, but it's also true. Where it's just like, you know, they use that term, I feel seen. When you're around all these people and they're talking about, oh yeah, I was doing this thing in Photoshop, and you're just like, wow, these people, and you don't know, and this is a reality for a lot of this type of stuff. When it comes to people who do creative stuff, is, you know, you look at your favorite movie, whoever made it and whatever it is, right? Everybody associates the movie with the director a lot of times, or the writer maybe, or the stars, but they're only, I don't know, depending on the size of the movie, a 50th, a 100th of the total people who worked on that film and created those things. There is a good chance, a very good chance, that people who have worked on some of the things that you like the best in the world in terms of creative output are at max. They just aren't the names you know. It's not Steven Spielberg. Instead, it's whoever did, I don't know, whoever came up with the motion tracking camera that let them do whatever in whatever movie. Those people are there. Those people are using those products. And so you hear these discussions, and you'll hear somebody talking about doing something in a movie. You have no idea what movie it is. They may not ever say that, because a lot of times with NDAs and stuff, they have to be very vague. So they won't say, oh, I'm working on the next Jurassic Park or whatever. So they'll say, oh, I'm working on this movie and I have to do motion tracking, blah, blah, blah. And what they're actually talking about is like Jurassic Park. They just don't say it. And you realize, oh man, I'm around these people. These are the people doing this stuff. Or even people who are doing independent things. I've met some really wonderful people at the Maxes who are just small-time artists who are doing their own thing. And it's great. It's great to talk to these people. Because you just feel like, again, you feel like you're around people who understand what the creative process is. And there's kind of a... Because creation is not always easy. It has its share of tough moments too. And again, there's something where you're talking to somebody like, oh yeah, I got stuck on this one thing and it took me a month to figure it out. You go, yeah, I know what that's like. It was worth it in the end, but I know what that's like. That kind of thing, I don't know of any other grouping, conference, whatever, that has that. It's something special that Adobe has really managed to capture in a way that I don't know anybody else who does it. I'm not saying there are other conferences that are similar, but Adobe is just, there's just something about it. There's just something about it. So yeah, I mean, hey, if you're in Miami, if you happen to be watching this at some point and you're in Miami and you're a creator and you can get to it, you should get to it. You should. It's worth going at least once in your life if you're a creative individual. It's expensive. I'm not saying it's not. I think it's $2 or $3 grand just to go to the conference, I think. And then you have to factor in hotels and everything else. So I'm not saying it's cheap, but there are those things that you should do. And that's one of them. Just so that you can have that experience. Okay, so all I got to do now... I did that. Okay, so all of the clothing is done except for the big patches on those outsides. So let's duplicate this again. Wait, oops, I deleted that. Duplicate. There we go. Let's turn this on. Let's scramble it a bit. So hold on. Liquify. Don't have to do a lot. Just have to do enough for those. Let's just check in here. All right. And let's at least get that done before we end the stream for tonight. So let's go ahead and turn all this stuff off. So all I'm looking at is this layer. Let's get that gigantic paint brush in here. Do some big erasure. Gotta be careful though. Don't want to go too far in yet. Let's see if we can get that done for tonight. Okay, good there. Get rid of all that. We don't need any of that. That. Sweep that down nice and easy right there. Clear that. And we'll sweep out of here. Okay, let's bring this down to say 30 maybe. And we'll go up the center because I don't need anything in there. And in fact, I don't need anything out here either. I just have to be cautious. Oh, wait a minute. Did I go too far in? No, I didn't. I just have to keep it right there. Keep it right there. We're good. We're good. Sweep that up that way. Okay. All right, now I gotta follow that line. Just follow it. Just follow that line. Because I just need the big pieces on the outside, I think. If I'm wrong, I'll find out in a minute. I could be. I've been wrong before. All right, let's just check. So, yes, that's what I need. Okay, perfect. Let's switch this to a vivid layer. Let's shrink this brush way down, say 20. Let's switch over to the ink eraser. All right, let's just chop this. So I need that. Oh wait, yep, I'm the right thought. And that. And that. And that. And all of that apparently. Okay, and all that. That there. That. I know this might be hard to see on the stream, but you'll see it in a minute. That. That. All of that. That, and that. Okay. So we should be set for the... Oh, wait. Yes, I'm on the right one. Okay. Whew. For a minute, I thought I erased the wrong one. I really did. Okay. Let's go to normal. There we are. Okay, so we're only worried about the outer layer here, which would also be this. Boy, this is taking a long time to get to here, huh? How many streams have I been working on this glass stuff? Wow. See, and here too. Let's say I was working on this at Max and, you know, somebody happened to see it. I'm like, oh yeah, this is what I'm doing. That person could be like, you know, there's a really much easier way to do that. Like, really? What? They'll show me and it's like, wow. Boy, did you just save me a ton of time. That's the magic. But like I said, even if you don't ever have an interaction like that, just being in that environment, it's just great. It's just great. It's the closest to what I guess a religious experience would be for me at this point in my life. Because, you know, that's the Holy Land for me, is Adobe Max. That is. That would be it. All right. And like I said, yeah, if you ever get the chance, go. Go. If it's ever nearby you, and don't hesitate. I know it's expensive. I know it is. You may only ever be able to go once. But if you only get to go once, I'm telling you, you'll remember it. I remember the first time I went to Max so clearly because I had a sense of what it was going to be like, but that wasn't the same thing. It just wasn't the same thing. And I'm really, really glad that every time it's made sense for me to go. I don't need any of that. I've gone. Even to LA, which I do not enjoy. I do not like LA. And yet, since, you know, I would love them to come to San Francisco too. I don't think they've been in San Francisco for a long time. They did San Diego, like I said, once, and that was great. I loved San Diego. That was wonderful. Great place too if you've never been to San Diego. It's a good place to go. Fun town. Nice place. But yeah, they haven't gone back to San Diego since the time I went. I don't know if they went a bunch of times before that or not. I never looked to see all the places it had been before. So I'm going to assume they probably had done it in San Diego once before. Maybe several times. I'm sure it's expensive. I mean, San Diego is not a cheap town. So I don't doubt it. But this is it. You know, Adobe has money. It's one of those cases where it's like, I don't want to be hearing about how much it is. You guys make a lot of money. Adobe makes a lot of cash off those subs, let me tell you. Don't misunderstand. I absolutely believe that they use a lot of it for putting into R&D on their products. They do continually try to improve their products. Sometimes they end up breaking the products in their improvements, but I always feel like it's a sincere effort to make them better, even if perhaps they don't always do the proper Q&A on stuff before they release it. Not Q&A. What is it? QC, quality control, not Q&A. Q&A is questions and answers. Quality control, QC. They may not always do that correctly, They have rolled out updates that have caused some major headaches. Fortunately, it's never caused me to lose work, as far as like losing something I was working on, but I know people have had that problem, and that's not good. It's especially not good if you're paying $60 a month for their product. Then you might be really irritated. So, and I understand if somebody were to be like, I'm paying you this much for you to put out an update that wiped out something I've spent a week working on. Yeah, that's bad. There is no defense of that, and you will not get one out of me. That is the definition of indefensible. I don't need a definition on that one, Gina. I got that one. I know what indefensible is. But, like I said, if you can go to Max, you should. It is a very interesting thing. And I think it also, you know, in beyond the creative part of it, I mean, I met a guy there. I actually interviewed him for one of my shows who was... He might have been Ukrainian, now that I think about it. I don't remember where he was from. Somewhere Eastern Bloc area. And he had this really interesting life story about, you know, how he came to America, and it was basically escaping religious persecution type of stuff. So you get to meet people with different backgrounds who live very different lives than you do, which I think is beneficial for everybody to be able to see that, okay, it's not all about me and what my experience of the world is. It's a very, very necessary thing to understand that there's people that are unlike you who also have value in the world. That it's not just, well, the way I think of something has to be the only way that's right. There's a big problem with that, particularly in this country, I feel like. So that's another benefit, is just to step outside your experience just a tad. With creativity is kind of that common element that bridges the gap, understanding that, oh, wow, this person lives a wildly different life than I do, and yet the one thing we have in common, or one of the things we have in common, doesn't mean it'll be the only thing, is the creative aspect, that we both enjoy creating things. Just saying, there's a benefit to it beyond the fact that, yes, it will be a place where you get to see people that also use Photoshop and get to take sessions. Yeah, if you go to them and you take these classes, and most of those instructors who are really, really, really smart, talented people, they're going to hang around and they'll talk to you and they'll answer questions, and they'll say, oh yeah, here's my email. You know, if you're working on something, you run into a thing, I'd be happy to, you know, help you bounce ideas off of. That's another thing. There's this really wonderful collaborative spirit to people there, because they understand, again, that everybody there is creating, and almost everybody there has a unique vision of the world and what they're creating, and you get to see some really wild things that people work on, and that are, oops, I gotta keep that little part right there. That part's gotta stay right there. Whew, it's so small, I almost just erased right through it, didn't even think about it. There's lots of reasons. I mean, this makes it sound like I'm getting kickbacks from Adobe. I guarantee you I am not. Oh, if only I was. I'm available. Adobe, I will not be expensive. If you want me to evangelize your products, I kind of do it anyway. So if you want to pay me a little bit of a stipend, I am available. My email is right on the top of the screen there, @gmail.com. Feel free to reach out. If you'd like me to be an evangelist, I am here for it. Trust me. But okay, I think that's it. Let's see. Let's turn everything on. I think I finally got glass in every single place I need it. The halo glass is where? Chain glass, radiance glass. The halos, I think you can see. Yeah, they're there. They're just white. Yeah, that's everything. The face. Okay, so the only part left is the face. I'm not going to do that now. Everything else, the glass is done. I'm going to recolor it, but it's done. So it looks like crap like this because it's just all you're seeing is, you know, if I start adding colors, it gets a little better. Now you start seeing what the effects are. See that? But that's what I mean about I gotta play with that. But it's getting there. It's getting there. We're really close to being done now. So we're getting there. We're getting there. So wow, I've been doing this for 1 hour and 15 minutes. Well, that's a good place to bling this to a close. Yes, it's a good place to bling this to a close. Good grief. Well, I am very happy with how everything turned out. Got to do a lot of the glass. It's almost done now, which is great. Got to chat for a while. My voice did not go out on me, which is kind of astonishing on its own, because I don't generally talk for an hour, and at least not to myself. If I do my show with Lando, where we're going for 2 hours, we're usually each taking turns. So monologuing for over an hour is not something I typically do, but that's okay. Why not? Oh, I closed Photoshop because that's just using up resources. What was that? Thank you. So thanks for coming by, hanging out. Thank you to my sister for providing me the appropriate grammar specification for the word Photoshop. And yeah, I think I'm going to be doing a stream on Thursday. Probably not for an hour and 15 minutes, but that I believe I am planning on doing a stream. And again, if you're watching this live or later, doesn't matter to me. I just appreciate you stopping by. Go be creative. Like I said, if you can ever go to an Adobe Max, do it. It's so great. It's so great. But if you can't, there's lots of little creative things around. You can find communities, Discords, YouTube channels with people. If you're struggling with something, reach out to these people. Most times they're going to help you out. They will. The creative community is largely an extraordinarily generous and collaborative one where people want to help. They want to let you, they give you tips on stuff. There's all kinds of great YouTube videos around on how to do things. There's so much rich information out there. Do not let anything stop you from being creative. There's just no reason for it. And it'll make you feel better. It's good for you. It just is. It's just beneficial for you. It's like eating vegetables, except it doesn't taste bad. So go be creative. It's good for you. Anyway, I'm going to get out of here now because otherwise I'll just ramble for a while. So again, thanks for stopping by. Whenever you're seeing this, I appreciate it. And go be creative if you can, because I think it'll benefit you. And so until next time, insert boilerplate language here until I can think of something clever to say. And on that note, again, thanks for stopping by.